Okay, we'd like to welcome you to our City Council meeting today. Today is April 20th, 2021. And I'm going to read a public notice for the reason for our Zoom meeting. Public notice is hereby given that this meeting will occur electronically without an anchor location in accordance with the Utah Code 52-4-2074 due to infectious disease COVID-19 novel coronavirus. The council chair, Diane Turner, has determined that conducting a meeting with an anchor location presents substantial risk to health and safety of those who may be present at the anchor location because of physical distancing measures may be difficult to maintain in the Murray City Council chambers. Also, you can view this, we all know that, but we can view this on www.murraycitylive.com or facebook.com/MurrayCityUtah. Okay, we are going to begin today. And again, we appreciate everyone being here with us. Rosalba and I are on Zoom, and the rest of the council members are in the chambers. And welcome to everyone, Mayor and your staff. I have asked Dale Cox, Councilmember Cox, if he would offer our Pledge of Allegiance.
I think it's over.
Diane, I am not here, and I did not hear Dale give the pledge, and I could barely hear him, so I can't hear the conversations going on in the council chambers. So Diane, I'm going to turn the time over to you to finish the conducting, and then I'll call in.
All right. Sounds good. Due to technical difficulties, I will be conducting Diane Turner. I am Diane Turner, and I will be conducting. Okay, so we've done opening ceremonies. Let's next go to approval of minutes for a council meeting of April 6, 2021. Do I have a motion?
I'll move we approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Sounded unanimous. Next, let's go to special recognition. Murray City Council Employee of the Month, who is Jason Perkins. Jason is a wastewater tech number 3. Brett Hales and Danny Astle are presenting. Brett, are you able to do the presentation with Danny?
Yes, can you hear me now, Diane?
Yes, I can.
All right, guess what? I'm doing it from my iPhone, and that sounds better, so.
Okay, whatever it takes.
So, okay. Danny, go ahead. We're welcome. This is our employee, but I'm assuming we're on the Employee of the Month. And guess what? It's going crazy. So I'm just going to let you go ahead, Diane. I'll just respond.
Okay. All right, Danny.
Okay. Good evening, Council, and thank you for this opportunity to recognize one of our own here that's been here a long time. I am going to let our wastewater superintendent, Ben Ford, kind of share some thoughts about Jason, and I'll turn that time over to him and Jason.
Appreciate it, Danny. Thank you, Council, for recognizing Jason tonight and giving us a few minutes to tell you a little bit about him. So Jason has been with the city for about 32 and a half years now, since 1989. And all 32 of those years have been in the wastewater division. I've had the pleasure of working with Jason for about the past 7 years since I've been in the division, and he's been nothing but a model great employee the whole time. He's he taught me a lot about the division and the collection system as a whole when I came over there. He's with 32 years of experience. He's obviously he's the one who's been in the division the longest. He knows that the collection system upside and down, inside and out, which is great. You got to have employees who know where the trouble areas are and know the system inside and out. And Jason is definitely that employee. He's meticulous in how he goes about his job. He's very detail oriented. Jason is somebody, recently we were completing a project, a little remodel project, and it wasn't quite done, and he had some vacation time scheduled, and he canceled his vacation so he could finish the project. And that's kind of who Jason is. He's meticulous, detailed in how he does his job, and he has a lot of respect in public works and in the wastewater division, and we really appreciate him. So thank you, council, for letting us take a few minutes to tell you a little bit about Jason tonight.
Jason, you want to take a few minutes?
I just want to say thanks, Danny, and it means a lot to me to be recognized, and I want to thank you and Ben for nominating me, and it means a lot. It's a good place to work. There's some really good people that work for Murray, and obviously I've been there for 30 something plus years, so that says a lot. And I just want to say thank you guys, and thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
Thanks, Jason.
Jason, it says a lot that you've been with Murray for 32 years. That's amazing. Oh my goodness. We really, really appreciate it. And to show that, we'll put your name on a plaque, which will be in the City Hall, council chambers. And also, we will give you, or whoever you choose to give it to, $50 gift certificate. And just to let you know, we really do appreciate your efforts and being with us for so long. So you take care, Jason, and thanks again. Any other comments for Jason?
No, I just want to thank all you council members and the mayor, and I appreciate what you guys do for Murray and all the employees. Thank you. It goes a long ways.
Well, thank you so much.
Well, Jason, thanks from Brett Hales here. We appreciate you, and you've been with the city forever, but a big thanks from me too.
Yeah, well, don't seem like forever, but it goes by so fast.
If you've
thank you.
If you've been with the city for 32 years, they must not have had child labor laws when you hired on.
Well, I started right out of high school. So
Wow.
It's been a good career so far. So thank you guys.
All right. Take care.
You too.
Okay, now we go on to special presentation, which the first one is Mayor Blairkamp's fiscal year 2021-2022 budget address. Mayor?
Thank you. Good evening, City Council, City staff, and members of the public. Tonight I present to the City Council for your consideration a tentative budget for Murray City for fiscal year 2021-2022. As stated in Utah Code, a major responsibility of local elected officials, especially town or city council members, is to appropriate funds. In other words, to adopt and maintain a budget. The definition of budget in the state code is a plan for financial operations for a fiscal period, embodying estimates for proposed expenditures for given purposes and the means of financing those expenditures. It is the mayor's responsibility to submit a balanced budget to the city council by the first Tuesday in May. Unlike the federal government, a city's expense must equal revenue, except in enterprise funds, where a profit or a loss is allowed. A city must set aside a minimum of 8% of budgeted funds for emergencies or other unexpected contingencies, more commonly referred to as fund balance or reserves. However, by state law, a city's fund balance cannot exceed 25% of projected revenue. Murray City's budget is made up of four funds: the general fund, enterprise funds, special revenue funds, and internal services funds. The total amount of these funds adds up to just under $148 million and allows the city to provide essential municipal services that residents have come to expect. I'll now go into a greater detail about the funds that make up the city's annual budget. First, every city maintains a general fund. In this proposed budget, the general fund revenues are projected at approximately $50 million, or 38% of the city's overall budget. The general fund is the most scrutinized category of the annual budget because its revenues come primarily from sales tax, property tax, fees, and enterprise fund transfers. Murray is fortunate to have a strong and vibrant business community that contributes over 46% in sales tax to the general fund revenues. This allows for lower fees and property taxes to be collected from residents and businesses. One of the challenges facing Murray City is that over 30% of its properties are owned by governments or nonprofit organizations that are tax exempt. To help make up for this lost revenue, the city transfers a dividend from some of its enterprise funds to the general fund. If the city did not do this, property taxes would have to increase or services would have to be reduced, or a combination of both. Regarding property tax, property owners in Murray should note that only 18 to 20% of their annual tax assessment, depending on which school district the property resides, goes to Murray City. Most of the property taxes paid by Murray property owners go to the school districts, Salt Lake County government, or other special districts. State law does not allow property tax revenue to increase to the city unless it comes from new development or growth, unless there's a truth in taxation hearing. However, property owners typically experience changes in the amount they pay for property tax each year based on the assessed valuation of the property. Assessed valuations can go up or down, but citywide, the money collected stays the same as the previous year. Also, as properties are purchased by governmental agencies or nonprofit organizations, the lost property tax revenue is divided among all other taxable properties in order to maintain the current tax revenue for the city. General fund revenue is spent on the following: personnel, city operations, debt service, and capital projects. The employees who provide our city services make up the largest expense of the general fund at 64%. Attracting, training, and retaining employees remains a high priority in this budget. At my request, department heads have kept operational costs unchanged, with some line item amounts restored to pre-pandemic levels. The Capital Projects Committee recommended one-time expenditures that make up 11% of the general fund expenses. Public safety remains a high priority in this budget, with 55% of the departmental expenses going to police and fire departments. Residents and visitors to Murray also benefit from the excellent parks and recreation facilities and programs, along with public works infrastructure investment and maintenance. It is forecasted that development will continue to increase the workload for city staff to review applications and issue permits. Moving on from the general fund, I'll now summarize the city's enterprise funds. Enterprise funds are services or utilities which charge a fee and are handled like a business organization. Murray City has 7 enterprise funds: the water fund, the wastewater or sewer fund, the Power Fund, Murray Parkway Golf Course Fund, Telecom Fund, Solid Waste or Garbage Collection Fund, and Stormwater Fund. Murray provides reasonably priced and reliable utilities and recreation services to the public. Like the general fund, it's imperative that enterprise funds have reserves to operate in the event of an emergency or other unforeseen event. It is also vital that these services have sufficient funds and adequate investments in infrastructure. Nobody wants to be without water or electricity, and everyone wants to be able to flush without worrying where the waste is going. Because these funds are maintained by fees, it is also important that rates are evaluated and adjusted regularly to keep up with the cost of providing services. Last of all, but no less important, are 6 other funds that are central to our citizens or employees. These funds are used to account for special or specific revenue sources that are restricted for specific purposes. The Central Garage Fund, the Retained Risk Fund, the Library Fund, the Redevelopment Agency, the Cemetery Perpetual Care Fund, and the Municipal Building Authority. Noteworthy initiatives for these funds include saving money for a new library, using bond proceeds to construct a new city hall, and negotiating tax increment financing for improvements in redevelopment areas of the city, as well as affordable housing throughout the city. Some highlights of this proposed budget are: first, there is no property tax increase proposed in this budget. Thanks to the higher than expected tax and COVID-19 stimulus funds last year, thanks to the higher than expected sales tax and COVID-19 stimulus funds last year, the general fund reserves or fund balance is projected to end the fiscal year at approximately $12 million or 26.1% of revenue. Revenue for transportation projects will increase by $1 million as a result of new legislation, as you heard earlier from our legislative report. This budget includes a 3% cost of living adjustment for all city employees. Last year, you remember there was no cost of living adjustment included in the budget. The employee step program is fully funded. Health insurance premiums will increase by 6.1% and dental premiums by 0.5%. The city will continue to pay 85% of the premium cost, with the employee paying 15%. The budget includes 3 new full-time employees to assist with increased development occurring within the city and with emerging trends in law enforcement. These positions are a civil engineer, a senior planner, and an additional position in police administration. One-time capital expenditures are approximately $7.8 million. A few noteworthy capital projects included in the mayor's budget and approved by the Capital Projects Committee include a new fire engine, 12 new police vehicles, a new playground at Murray Park, resurfacing of the tennis courts at Southwood Park, Park Center fitness equipment, saving toward the Murray Theater renovation, Murray Mansion renovation and conversion to the Murray Museum, 2 10-wheel dump trucks, a bobtail dump truck, traffic signal upgrade at 6600 South Union Park Avenue, replacement and addition of radar speed signs, road and sidewalk improvements, construction of the new city hall, water pipeline improvements, rehabilitation of water reservoir number 4, Central Valley wastewater treatment plant improvements, sewer line improvements, a park impact fee study, stormwater infrastructure on Vine Street from Rodeo Lane to Little Cottonwood Creek, replacing existing power meters with smart meters, and several vehicle replacements for various departments throughout the city. In conclusion, I wish to recognize and thank our Finance Director, Brenda Moore, for the many hours of meetings with department directors and the mayor's office in putting together the budget document that you'll receive here this evening. I also express appreciation to our department directors and their staffs for submitting reasonable budgets. After the many hours of work on this budget document, we place it in the hands of the City Council for your careful and thoughtful study. Our staff is available as a resource throughout the budget process. This budget document will be available on the city website beginning tomorrow for review by the public. Jeff Merkley, a U.S. Senator from Oregon, is quoted as saying, "Budgets are nothing if not statements of priorities." I believe this budget reflects the careful prioritization and the values of our city. So thank you. We look forward to working with you as we move forward in the budget process.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Okay, our next special presentation is to consider a resolution acknowledging receipt of the fiscal year 2021-2022 tentative budget from the mayor and budget officer and referring the mayor's tentative budget for review and consideration to the Budget and Finance Committee of the Murray City Municipal Council. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept, acknowledge receipt of the fiscal 2021 tentative budget from the mayor's and the budget officer.
All right, do I have a second?
Second that. Rosalba will second that.
Okay, thank you, Rosalba. We have a motion and a second. Is there a discussion on the motion? Okay. Seeing none. Brooke, would you take the vote?
Ms. Martinez,
Aye.
Mr. Cox,
Aye.
Ms. Dominguez,
Aye.
Ms. Turner,
Aye.
and Mr. House.
Aye.
Do you want me to switch that up now that Ms. Turner is conducting on how I call a roll?
Yeah, you may as well just reflect.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we're at the citizen comments portion of our council meeting. Comments are limited to less than 3 minutes. Include your name and contact information. And those should have been received by email. The email is city.council@murray.utah.gov. So, Jennifer, do we have citizen comments?
We do. We received a few tonight. The first one we have is a live comment from Ms. Melissa Zuckerman. So, Melissa, if you're online, go ahead and unmute, and you'll have 3 minutes to make your comment.
Hey, thank you. My name is Melissa. I am one of the people discussed that operates a not legal short-term rental out of my home. And hopefully, so I have a mother-in-law unit. We bought our house 2 years ago. We bought it because of the mother-in-law unit, knowing that it would help us generate the revenue to afford our own house. We live in our house in Murray, and we enjoy our peaceful and safe neighborhood as much as anyone else. And the last thing we want is blocked up parking and toy haulers, loud parties, and a lack of a feeling of safety in our neighborhood. I appreciate the council members' very reasonable considerations of how to allow a short-term rental ordinance. One Councilwoman Rosalba discussed or opened up the idea that, how many complaints really are there regarding noise that specifically come from short-term rentals. And it may be hard to understand or, discern that, but I do think that is a valid question, especially since the survey had 600 responses, not necessarily vetted to know that they come from Murray, and of them only 25% had any sort of experience with short-term rentals in their neighborhoods. Smaller dwellings, I want to mention, like mother-in-laws like I have, or someone who's renting out a single room, really do not invite a party atmosphere because we're owner occupied all the time. We're fully able to shut down situations that before they get out of hand. I will notify people that are renting if I can hear their TV or I hear them, chatting too loudly. So my neighbors, probably don't even know that I am operating one because I make sure that we're all having a good quality of life. Most of my guests are here for one night, usually driving between Colorado and California and looking for something more affordable than the hotels, because after taxes, they pay less than $80. I think they pay like $70, $75, versus the nearby hotels where they pay like $130. Like the rate pre-tax is $109 at the 2 hotels near my house. And let's see, I make sure that nobody blocks the sidewalk. I message them. It's usually one vehicle because they're limited to one off-street parking spot. And if they try and cram 2 cars in there, I let them know that they're blocking the sidewalks and that they don't want a ticket. I kind of threaten them with that. But
Melissa?
most of the time it's with 1 car. And
Melissa?
thank you.
Your time is up. Thank you.
Okay, our next citizen comment is from Lauren Havens, who's the Director of Home Havens Management. Short-term rentals create an influx of high-quality individuals for the area. They frequently bring a high-quality traveling workforce and allow for impeccably kept homes. Guests expect the rental unit to look exactly the same in the pictures as it does when they book. There, however, can be owners that mismanage rentals, short-term or long-term, leading to an overall occupied properties and poor neighborhoods. For those reasons, I'd like to suggest a permitting process that would require those who would like to rent or have a sales and use tax license to ensure remission and a parking plan to prohibit cars parked inappropriately. Some examples of great guests that have come in the last year that needed a rental option in the neighborhood for less than 30 days are traveling nurses to support IMED. They seek a home-like environment and are greatly beneficial to our community, and traveling engineers for water treatment facilities and refineries. People needing a temporary living environment between homes while remodeling. The real estate scene in Murray is busy, and offering these options allows high-quality individuals to live nearby before buying in Murray. For those concerned about party houses, I suggest a process of better hosting, not banning an industry that is clearly supporting good people and offers tax funding for the city. If I can be of help in any way by providing additional insight, please let me know. We manage short-term rentals and hotel units across the state. And Patty will read the next comment.
All right, this one is from Ken Atkins. This is about the short-term rental ordinance. Dear Honorable Council, thank you for your continued service and advocacy on behalf of the residents of Murray. I'm a supporter of any ordinance which allows for the short-term rental of owner-occupied dwellings. The rental of these spaces in a responsible and regulated manner would be a significant advantage for those who are currently struggling to pay their mortgages due to the COVID-19 pandemic. People in our community need every advantage possible to sustain us during this time. Thank you for your consideration. Ken Atkins.
Our next comment is from Brian Mariel. If hotel chains and their partners disguised as neighbors get their way with not allowing a mom and pop shop to benefit from Utah's attracting tourism, you are allowing a kind of monopoly that stunts internal community economic growth. Short-term rentals benefit the city because there is a vetting process that hotel chains don't do. The short-term rental community reviews and holds each guest and host accountable for a pleasant and respectable experience. I have turned down guests because I didn't feel comfortable with them being in our neighborhood. We as hosts nurture the growth of filling Murray City with the right kind of people who are coming in from different states to purchase homes or simply spend their dollars in Murray-based businesses during their visit, as I send a local business recommendation list during their stay. Responsible short-term hosts do not impose on the freedoms of Murray residents. Hosts are more inclined to beautify their property and to have a more attractive listing, which in turn increases the value of Murray. A long-term landlord tends to no longer pay attention to because there isn't a need to, since they have renters paying for what is and not what could be. Plus, with short-term rentals, the city makes more in tax revenue compared to those landlords who rent long-term, and even worse, rent without disclosing some or all earnings, cutting Murray out of the tax portion. That is difficult to do with short-term rental sites as they are in compliance with the law and report and collect tax on their end. Thank you for listening and allowing your community to participate in a wealth of tourism that we in Murray are experiencing.
Okay, this one is from Charmaine Barrett, related to short-term rental ordinance. Dear council members, I have lived in Murray for 9 years. I've paid my taxes, kept up my property, and been a productive and good citizen of my neighborhood. I went through a divorce 5 years ago, and I needed to bring in additional income even though I work a full-time job. I discovered the demand for short-term housing through some friends, and since I am an empty nester, I decided this would be a perfect way to bring in some additional income. I had no idea that this might be against the city ordinance since it is my property. I own it, and as long as I am responsible and don't cause my neighbors problems, I should be able to allow whomever I want to stay in my home. So I started renting on Airbnb. Airbnb is very good inquiring ID, background checks, and there are also references from hosts that the applicant has stayed with in the past. So as a single woman who wants to stay safe, I felt secure that the people who apply to stay with me would be quote unquote good people. They had references from past stays, and I would even call their current landlords and references if I needed to. I can tell you that in the past 9 months, all of but one of my guests have stayed for 30 days or longer, and I have had no problem at all. I met an ultrasound tech who got a 3-month contract at the VA and needed an affordable and nice place to stay. I met a woman that came to ski for a month and has traveled all over the world and had a wonderful story about her life and travels. I met a commercial airline pilot from Brazil, a very nice man who worked in a laboratory in Midvale. And I have had medical interns that needed a place to stay while they finished their internship to graduate. The point is that there can be a lot of hysteria whipped up when people are afraid. When people are faced with the unknown, they become afraid and are willing to give up their own rights for a sense of safety and security. I'm not willing to give up my rights to do what I will with my property, and I'm not willing to take other rights away to do what they will with their property just because 1 or 2 neighbors has some irrational fears or have been annoyed. Sometimes when your neighbor uses his leaf blower too much, you just have to put earbuds in with your favorite music and solve the problem yourself instead of expecting your neighbor to accommodate every demand. There is to be a middle ground here where property owners can reserve their constitutional rights and usage, the fears of those who don't have all the facts but are crying out because they have been annoyed somehow. I would like to see short-term rentals allowed in the city limits. I would be okay with the requirement that says the owner must live in the house that they are renting the space and to qualify her property for a short-term rental. Then unruly parties wouldn't be an issue because the owner is always on the premises. Please consider the rights of all property owners when considering this issue. Sincerely, Charmaine Barrett.
Okay, and our final comment is related to the intersection at 4800 South and Atwood Boulevard. I am a Murray City resident for 10 years, and I have seen so much growth that keeps happening in Murray. The intersection of 4800 South and Atwood Boulevard needs an actual traffic light. That particular intersection is dangerous as there is no indication of traffic control, and I continuously see people speeding with no regard or knowledge as to what a flashing yellow light means. It is time to install one. And that is all the citizen comments we received.
All right. Thank you, Jennifer. We'll continue on. The next is the consent agenda. We have no items scheduled. And now we're at the public hearings. We have 2. So the first one is consider an ordinance amending section 17.12.070 of the Murray City Municipal Code related to Planning Commission compensation. Melinda Greenwood, you're presenting. Welcome, Melinda.
Is her mic on? Sorry.
You turn up.
Just can't
Here we
hear
go.
her.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So we'll start with the easy public hearing. And we reviewed this with the committee of the whole 2 weeks ago, but We want to amend Chapter 17, Section 12070 of the Land Use Code to bring the Planning Commission compensation up to our current practice of paying them $40 per meeting, and it's currently listed at $25. So we changed this in the budget process, I think, 2 years ago, and we failed to update the code. So this is a housekeeping issue. We did do a survey of some of our local and fellow Salt Lake County cities to see what they pay. And I should state this really is a reimbursement or a stipend provided to our Planning Commission members who put in a lot of work. They have 2 meetings per month. They oftentimes will go and drive to the sites that are mentioned in the staff reports. We may have 7 or 8 different addresses on a Planning Commission agenda. And so this helps provide them with a little bit of reimbursement for some of the work that they do, some of the vehicle mile that they travel. And you can see here from the chart on the right that the compensation or the reimbursement amounts vary from nothing at all to $100. So we're right there kind of in the middle at 40. The average is 53. This was presented to the Planning Commission in January. We did mail notices to our affected entities that we didn't, because there's no address associated with this, we don't mail them to anyone in particular, but just our affected entities. We didn't receive any public comments on this, and this Planning Commission voted 7-0 to send a recommendation of approval to the City Council. We do want to just go over quick the findings of fact that we have associated with this, and essentially the reimbursement amount would be reasonable for the expense that they incur for the performance of their official duties. So our recommendation to you, City Council, is to approve the request to update the code to Planning Commission compensation and change that from $25 to the current practice of $40. If there's any questions, I would be happy to take those questions.
Okay, are there any questions right now for Melinda? Okay, hearing none, then I will open it for public comment. Jennifer, are there any? No public comments. All right, I will now close it and request a motion or further discussion. Is there further discussion on the topic? Okay, if there is none, then I would request a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve an ordinance amending section 17.12.070 of the Murray City Municipal Code related to Planning Commission compensation.
Thank you, Dale.
I'll second that.
Very good. All right, we have a motion and a second by Brett. Good to hear from you, Brett.
Thanks, Diane.
Okay, is there discussion on the motion? Hearing none, then Brooke, would you take the vote?
Mr. House,
Aye.
Ms. Martinez,
Aye.
Mr. Cox,
Aye.
Ms. Dominguez,
Aye.
and Ms. Turner.
Aye. Okay, the motion passes. Thank you, Council. Let's go to the second public hearing. This is the confusing one, and it's long. All right, consider an ordinance relating to land use, amends the zoning map from R18 to R16 for the property at 344 East, 5600 South. Amends the zoning map from RM15 to R16 for a portion of the property located at 404 East, 5600 South, and amends the zoning map from R18 to RM15 and amends the general plan from low-density residential to medium-density residential for a portion of the property located at 404 East, 5600 South, Murray, Utah. Melinda Greenwood presenting.
Thank you. I'm just going to go ahead to the aerial view of this. This application shows we have two different properties here. We have the 304 East, 5600 South, and then the 404 East. This property, 404 East, is currently zoned RM15, and this is R18. There's a property exchange that needs to take place between these two properties in order for this future subdivision to get enough property to subdivide in the lots. And so that's where we get a little bit confusing with the property swaps that are taking place. This color-coded map here helps explain that just a little bit. We have the portion of a property down here on the south end that's green. Sections of that property will go to the neighboring property owners. Part of this property that is zoned R18 right now will be transferred to the property next door and needs to remain in the RM15 zone. And then this portion right here, which currently is owned by 404 East, will need to be transferred over to the 344 East. I may have confused those two addresses, but this property here needs to go to the future subdivision. So this is a look at the current zoning right now that we have. I mentioned this property is RM15, and this property right now is zoned at R18. The future land use map shows the property next door to the applicant is to stay medium density, and then the property located at the 344 East, I think it is to stay in the low density residential. Let's see, let me just move this out of the way. The low density residential is defined by our general plan as any of our zones listed below here. We have the, in this case, we're talking about R16 and R18 are the two zones. It's currently zoned R18, and the applicant is requesting that zone map be amended to a slightly higher density of R16. And then the medium density residential, which is the property located at 404 East, corresponds with the zones, as I mentioned before, the RM15. Here are some photos of the property that we're looking at. This is 344 East, and then right here is the 404 East, and you can see there's already an existing building on there. The end goal of this property swap between the two is to ensure that the property located at 404 East has enough acreage to maintain the current density that they have, and that the acreage that's exchanged between the two property remains zoned appropriately. Here again are just some additional viewpoints. This is the property to the south end of the subject property that would be essentially donated to either side of the residential lots there. There's another view of those that would go from looking at Hillside Drive and the residential properties that are there on the south end. We did have this item before the Planning Commission on March 4th. We mailed a total of 171 notices out for the zone change and the general plan amendment. We received one public comment that was supportive of the change, and the Planning Commission voted 7-0 to send a recommendation of approval to the general, or for both the general plan amendment and the zone map amendment. So our recommendation for you tonight is to approve the proposed zone change and general plan amendment, and to for the property located at 344 East, to take a portion of that property from R18 to R16, single family residential, for a portion of the property located at 404 East, to take that from RM15 to R16, single family residential, and then a portion of the property at 344 East, to put that from R18 down to, or up to the RM15, the multifamily residential. And all of this essentially is needed to keep, again, the property at 404 East with the appropriate density that they need and the appropriate zone for what's already there. There won't be any changes to that site. There's no new projects being proposed for that site. It's just a simple transaction, essentially, to keep all of the zoning integrity based on what it needs to be with that property. So if there's any questions, I would be happy to answer them. And let me just, for the benefit of the public, just scroll back to this shot here that just kind of shows this property. This pink portion here highlighted is going to the zone change to be future subdivided into the R16 lots. This yellow section here is going to the property at 404 East. So is this yellow section, and then these two green sections would be associated with the single family residential properties at the bottom of the street. And the end result here would essentially be a future subdivision that would come forward and have I think it's 8 lots. 7. Great. The applicant is here and he corrected me, 7. Thank you.
I was just about to ask, does the applicant wish to address the council?
If I may, will you just confirm, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm pleased to introduce myself to you tonight. My name is Paxton Guyman. I am a real estate and land use attorney. I am representing the applicant, which is Monterey Properties, and its representative, Mr. Alan Prince. As you can tell from that presentation, and by the way, thank you to the staff member who presented that. I think you did a fine job, except that it's 7 lots, not 8. As you can tell from that presentation, a lot of effort has gone into getting this application ready to the point where it's before you tonight. The Planning Commission gave it a unanimous recommendation for approval. And what's really going on is you're seeing a lot of boundary problems being resolved. To honor fence lines instead of survey lines, to protect and honor the existing expectations of neighbors. And then the land swap is really nothing more than a way to preserve the integrity of the existing use to the east, the multifamily use. The net effect of this is that Mr. Prince, through his efforts, has been able to work out arrangements with all of the property owners in the area to support this project and to allow land, which has candidly been neglected up until now, to be developed into a new 7-lot subdivision. It's really a beautification of land which is not in great condition right now, but will be put to good economic use and will allow for an attractive new subdivision in Murray City. The application is consistent with the general plan in the sense that we're simply changing the zoning from R18 to R16, but it still honors the integrity of a single family residential subdivision. And I think to the relief of some of the property owners in the area, we're not here asking for a townhouse project or multifamily project. It's a single family project with smaller lots, which will be candidly more affordable than larger ones. And as you know, we're in the middle of such a housing crisis right now where the demand for new homes and new lots far outweighs the inventory. And I'm not purporting to say that this smaller project on its own will solve that, but infill projects like this are becoming more and more important, where available land, small as it is, can be put to good use to produce 7 new homes for the market. So I'm pleased to answer any questions you might have. I will say that a lot of work has gone into this. I commend Mr. Prince for his efforts of working proactively with all of the neighbors resolving their concerns around the boundary issues and coming up with a proposal that it makes great sense. And with that said, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
All right. Thank you. Are there any questions at this point from the council?
Yeah, I have a question for Melinda, and this is, can you go over the conditional uses for R18? Or is it's going from R16 to 18, right?
Going from R18 to R16.
Okay, so let me have Melinda answer this just because I need to know what the code is and what the conditional uses are and what that means within that code for the conditional uses within the code.
So
Thank you.
I'd have to double check the code to see if there are conditional uses associated with R16, but the permitted uses are lots that need to be a minimum of 6,000 square feet.
Okay, and I guess I'm just curious, at what point, I mean, in any of this, like, can you just kind of go over the steps of what this would be for the now property owner and developer that's wanting this change? Like, what happens after this? If there's changes, what kind of changes come up? And let's say they want to change the amount of units. What's the max that they can have?
Well, so that's something that would be addressed through the next phase of the process. Looking at what is proposed, and I think that, you know, in general, when we're speaking about general plan amendments and zone map amendments, we don't usually speak to projects, but this one, because of the complexities of the land swap, really kind of lent itself to discussing that because it made it a lot easier to understand. So essentially, the acreage that is available would, let me pull up the staff report, but it would be the number of units that would be yield would be subject to the acreage or the lot size at 6,000 square feet minimum. And then they have to take out, it usually ends up you take about 20% out of that acreage for all of the public infrastructure, the roads, the sidewalk that has to go in. And so looking at this, I don't think it really would be possible to do anything more than the 7 lots that are being proposed. But I can look up.
Yeah, if you can look that up, I just really want to know in terms of what the amount would be. And I mean, I don't know what's going to happen here forward, but if I don't ask the question, then I don't know. So just wanted to make sure I understood that process a little bit better. Thank you.
Would you like me to provide any more information on that question?
So let me tell you though, going forward, and then Mr. Paxton, if you want to address that question as well. So if the general plan amendment and the zone map amendment are approved, the next steps in this process would be for a subdivision application to be submitted to planning. A subdivision is approved by the Planning Commission. They're the land use authority on subdivisions. That would go through a process of preliminary subdivision approval. We would route it to all of our internal departments for review. Planning Commission would hold a public hearing, and everyone would be noticed the same amount that we sent out. For this project, it would be the 300-foot radius. They would hold a public hearing and determine if it's appropriate to move forward with a subdivision to those 6,000 square foot lots. And then usually what happens at that point is the applicant goes back and addresses any of remaining issues or conditions that need to be met before a final subdivision is approved. Final subdivision goes back to the Planning Commission and they approve that. A process like that could take anywhere from on real short end, if and this is a more straightforward project, it could be a minimum of 60 to 90 days, and sometimes it takes even up to a year or two for a final subdivision to get approved.
Okay,
Thank
does
you.
that answer the question?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, I guess I can always look it up in the code to get the real answer or to get the full answer, but yeah.
If I might, I think I could help shed a little more light on that if you would like to hear from me again.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. The council member asks a fair question. What's before you tonight is not a subdivision plat approval, right? We're just here to ask you to amend the general plan and to rezone the property. And with some projects, there's a great deal of flexibility that remains to be decided after amending the general plan and rezoning the property, because the projects are larger, the design of the project hasn't been fully engineered or worked out, and so you don't know what it's going to look like. With this one, however, this is such a small piece of land, we've had to essentially do all of the engineering up front to decide what amount of lots this would fit. And because we're not doing a private street, we're doing a public road in this cul-de-sac, this street, we have to meet the public road sizing requirements. And I can assure you, after looking very closely at the public road requirements for the right-of-way of the street, the setback requirements under the city ordinances for the R16 zone, it is not possible from an engineering perspective or compliance with the code to do more than 7 single-family lots. It simply isn't possible. In fact, some of the boundary adjustments that are being done are intended to accommodate so that we can get 7 instead of fewer, but there's no possibility of getting more than 7 lots. These will be single-family homes, no more than 7 lots on this project. I hope that sheds a little more light. Thank you.
No, and that's good to know. I know sometimes by the time we get this information, when I do see a very strategic engineering draft and plan, I know there was more thought into it, but I just kind of want to know, because you never know, it could change. I'm not saying that that's going to really determine. My job is to determine what the code is and to really adjust accordingly to that. But just understanding the process is fair to ask. So thank you.
I couldn't agree more. Thanks.
Okay. I will now open the public hearing for public comment. Do we have any comments, Jennifer?
One from one of the residents. We had one from a resident that's online that came through the chat, so I'm going to have Melinda read it and then answer the question.
Okay.
Let me go back to that. I'm trying to look up the code while I'm sitting here too. So the question was, do the neighbors need to buy the portions of the property that are being, I guess, granted to them, that portion on the south side? And that's a question the applicant would have to answer. I don't know if they're being given that, if there's being sold to them, or...
It's not being sold. There's no consideration or payment required. To Mr. Prince's credit, there's a piece of the land where the fence actually encroaches into the land that he's buying, and he's going to honor that fence line for the benefit of that neighboring property owner without any payment of consideration for the extra land that that property owner will acquire.
Okay. Okay. All right. If that's the last comment, then I will close the public hearing and put it back to the council. Are there any other questions at this point? All right. I would entertain a motion.
Diane, this is Brett. I would like to entertain a motion if that's okay.
Great. Thank you, Brett.
You bet. I'd like to move that we approve an ordinance relating to the land use, amends the zoning map from R1-R-1-8 to R-1-6 for the property located at 344 East 5600 South, amends the zoning map from R-M-15 to R-1-6 for a portion of the property located at 404 East 5600 South, and amends the zoning map from R-1-8 to R-M-15 and amends the general plan from low density residential to medium density residential for a portion of the property located at 404 East 5600 South, Murray City, Utah.
All right, good job.
Thank you.
We have a motion. Is there discussion on the motion? Oh, how about a second?
I'd love to second.
Thank you. Now we have a motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? All right. Brooke, would you take the roll?
Mr. Howells,
Aye.
Ms. Martinez,
Aye.
Mr. Cox,
Aye.
Ms. Dominguez,
Aye.
and Ms. Turner.
Aye. Thanks, Brooke.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, now we are at business items, and our first business item is to consider confirmation of the council's appointments to the Diversity and Inclusion Ad Hoc Task Force. Kat Martinez presenting.
Thank you. Before I introduce you to all of these amazing task members, I wanted to just do a quick review of what the task force is and why I thought it was important to propose and create. And so it's a diversity and inclusion task force. Diversity is who makes up our community, and inclusion is who has a voice. Equity is achieving equal access, treatment, opportunity, and advancement for all people. These terms and ideals are key in crafting communities, workplaces, and governments that are purposefully designed to fairly serve and protect everyone they impact. This task force aims to ensure that regardless of race, color, gender, sexual orientation, age, religion, or disability, that anyone who lives in, works in, or visits Murray City has equal access to all of the benefits of community life our city has to offer. Murray is an incredible city, a place I'm proud to call home, and I feel compelled to reiterate, for the sake of those who misunderstand the work we seek to do, that this task force does not exist to undermine or insult our city's history or the people who are already working daily to make Murray a welcoming place to work and a safe place to live. But inequality is systemic and purposeful. For hundreds of years in this country, practices were put in place strategically to elevate some and oppress others. This physical infrastructure of our city, like the city hall we sit in tonight, it was built brick by brick. Similarly, our government was created policy by policy, and some of those policies were intended to exclude certain members of our community. Those of us who work in this city hall right now are not responsible for the possibly uneven bricks of this building's foundation, or harmful practices that were put in place long before we arrived here. But when you know better, you do better. And just like we're building a new city hall to be more structurally sound than this one, it's time to evaluate the policies that guide and govern us. We must ensure our policies deliberately include and welcome those who were for so long excluded by design. So that is the basis of this task force. And I am so excited to introduce you to these people tonight. We had so many applicants who were wonderful, and I am very moved. But I also have dry eyes, and I get, when I read my computer at night, I get a little watery. Sorry about that. So I want to start with Mindy Ball, who's our first on our list tonight. And I can't see the screen, so I'm not sure who's with us this evening. But I'll just say Mindy grew up here in Murray, and after teaching in Murray School District, she's now a principal here. And is she with us tonight, Jennifer? Mindy, would you like to say anything to the council? We'd just love to welcome you tonight.
I am here. Thank you so much. I appreciate this opportunity. I'm excited to work with both the Murray City Council on this task force and represent as an employee in Murray. A long time, I don't live there currently, but did grow up there, and my mom still lives there, and am just really faithful and loyal to Murray and want to see it be successful in every way possible.
Thank you so much, Mindy, and we're so glad you're joining us tonight and in the task force. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Next up, we have Katie Gardner. She was born and raised here in Murray. She has an HR background and has already worked with a diversity and inclusion committee at her place of work. Is Katie with us tonight?
Yeah, they're all here tonight.
They're all here. They're amazing. Katie, would you like to say anything to the council?
I would just like to second the comments before me and say thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm really excited to be a part of this and to see what amazing improvements we can help make and how to make this wonderful city even better. I'm born and raised here, and I'm just so proud to have an opportunity to serve the community that has served me for so many years. So thank you so much for this awesome opportunity.
Thank you, Katie. Next up, we have Daniel Haas. He's new to Murray, an immigrant from Germany, and a chaplain for the Episcopal Community Services of Utah. And Daniel, would you like to say anything to the council?
Yeah, so we just bought our house here recently in November, and coming to Murray, I learned how you sign up for your utilities, how you register your kids for school, how you do all the things the city, how to interact with the city as a newcomer. Well, that's one experience I bring. And as a spiritual care provider, both in military and healthcare, I work with diverse populations on a daily basis, and I look forward to looking at how the city does.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have Jocelyn Mascarinhas. She's from India.
I'm done with my portion. I actually got to talk.
She's from India originally. She has business.
I got to just say thanks for the opportunity.
Go ahead.
Oh,
Katie.
All right.
Sorry, Katie, can you mute yourself, Katie?
Oh.
Or can Jennifer or Patty mute? Okay, there we go. Sorry about that.
Jocelyn, would you like to say anything to the council? We're so glad you're here tonight.
Thank you for having me. I moved to Murray in 2012, June, when I had a little baby girl. And I've seen the city evolve over the past almost 9 years. And I now have 2 kids here. And I look forward to working to make it a more inclusive, welcoming place.
Thank you so much. And thank you for logging on and joining us tonight. It's so good to see you. Next up, we have Jessica Miller. She has a PhD. She has experience reviewing, revising, and creating policy at the higher ed level. And Jessica, would you like to say anything to the council?
I do, but we've got children melting down. I just wanted to say thank you, and I'm really excited for this opportunity.
Sorry to keep you to bedtime. Good night, littles. Next up, we have Justin Powell. He's the Executive Director of YouthLink. They work with refugees, immigrants, and other at-risk populations, and they're building, we got to hear earlier tonight about building their community center here in Murray. Justin, welcome.
Yes, thank you. I'm so glad to be a part of this committee, and I look forward to working toward all those goals that you mentioned at the introduction of this section of the meeting. And as a lifelong Murray resident and somebody who does business in Murray with this nonprofit and wants to do more, I couldn't be more excited and also aware of the great responsibility on us to guide the decisions of the city going forward, or advise and find input.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Sarah Pickett is next on our list. She's lived in Murray most of her life. She graduated from Murray High School. She works in business and brings her experience as a young working professional Latina to our task force. Hi, Sarah. Would you like to say hello?
Yeah. Hi. I'm very excited to, meet with my other task force members to get their background and to learn more about their experiences to see how we can make Murray better.
Thank you, Sarah. We're so glad you could join us tonight. Next up, we have Brian Prettyman. He, in addition to 15 years with DWS as contract analysis, he's volunteered and done service work all over the community, and we're so glad he's joining us. Brian, would you like to say anything?
Yeah, thanks, Kat. Proud Murray resident since 2017, and I just feel like there's never been a better time to have this kind of task force. Diversity and inclusion definitely improves our community, and I'm just excited to be part of something in my city that's tasked to finding better ways to ensure that inclusivity and equity are offered to all of our diverse backgrounds in Murray. So thanks for this opportunity.
Thank you, Brian. And finally, we have Jaleel Roberts. He's lived all over the world. He's a bachelor's in psychology. He's currently involved with the Murray Chamber, and we're so glad he was willing to join us on this task force. Jaleel, would you like to say anything?
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. This is going to be amazing. I look forward to meeting everybody and helping to improve the city that we all love so much. So thank you again, and I'll see you guys at the next meeting.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all of you for tuning in tonight to join us and sitting through a couple zoning choices first. We're so glad to meet you all here. I'll turn it back over to Diane.
Yes, thank you all for being willing to serve Murray. I think it'll be a wonderful task force, and we really appreciate your willingness. Any other comments? Okay.
Diane, I just want to say welcome. I can't believe it. Kat, and I know you interviewed with Dale and Jennifer, but great job. Great people. You could tell from the applications, but boy, when they presented tonight, you just knew it was right. So thank you, Kat, and for everyone that was involved, and welcome to this new committee. We're excited for you.
Yes, also I want to say great job, Kat. Thanks for putting this together. You've done a wonderful job.
Thank you. Thank you for your support, and thanks, Dale, for helping interview.
Diane, I think we need to vote to confirm them. We need to vote to confirm them.
Oh, that's right.
But can I say something before you guys vote? Before we vote?
Yes, you can. Of course.
First off, I just want to say and welcome each and every single one of you. The time that you will put into this is going to be invaluable for the city, and I really appreciate it because your time is very important to me and to the council and to the city. So please know that it goes without saying thank you, gracias for being here, because being a person of color, it is really important to me, and I find it very special that Kat found this project as really important to her to bring forward in a time that was really uncomfortable for me. So I really look forward to you guys leading us in whichever way and in hearing from you, and really whatever support I personally or the council can give you, please do not hesitate to reach out and ask for that. And even if you find that your voice isn't being heard, I know that feeling, and always know that I'm here for you guys individually or collectively as well. So thank you again, Kat. Thank you so much for doing the work and putting this forward. So I appreciate you.
All right. Thanks for the reminder, Jennifer. And now I would entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion. I move that we confirm the council's appointment to the Diversity and Inclusion Ad Hoc Task Force.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we can do the roll call. So if you would do that, I would appreciate it.
Sure thing. Mr. Hells.
Aye.
Ms. Martinez.
Aye.
Mr. Cox.
Aye.
Ms. Dominguez.
Aye.
And Ms. Turner.
Aye. Thank you. Appreciate it, Brooke. All right. The second business item is to consider a resolution authorizing the execution of an interlocal cooperation agreement between Murray City and Salt Lake County for the sharing of election services for the city's 2021 municipal election. Brooke Smith presenting.
Hi, thank you for your time again. Just a quick recap. This is a resolution that allows our city to enter into a contract with the Salt Lake County Elections Office to conduct our 2021 municipal elections. There is the mayor, Council District 2 and Council District 4 that will be up for elections and we have contracted with the county for the past several years to help us with those elections. The elections office helps us with equipment that we need. They can also hire the election workers, set up polling locations, print the ballots, and program the software that we need to conduct the elections. The county can conduct both types of elections for our election process this year, which is the traditional one, which we've done in the past, but also a ranked choice voting. If we decide to move forward with the traditional voting, the cost will not exceed about $57,888. That's about $1,400 more than the previous year. And then if we do a ranked choice voting, the actual cost will be an estimate because of a additional software fee, but the primary fee is going to be $58,198 for a primary and a general election. And then if we do just a general election, the fee is going to be $35,042. On top of those two estimated fees, there is a $10,000 fee for the annual licensing software, and that will be divided by all the municipalities that do select ranked choice voting. It's unknown right now. The final deadline for that decision is May 10th, but as soon as that deadline comes, we'll know exactly what our fee will be moving forward if we decide to do ranked choice voting. With that in mind, I wonder if the council has any questions for us, or if not, if they would approve the resolution so we can enter into a contract with the county to conduct our 2021 municipal elections.
May I clarify something, Madam Chair?
Sure.
Oh, yes. GL, please.
Well, the agenda item before you right now is just to have the county help us. And if you read the agreement, you'll see that they've included either way you decide to vote, which will come after this. But for right now, the resolution only is the county's assistance in the upcoming election. After this agenda item, you'll have the second agenda item will be whether you do ranked choice voting. So this one is just to have the county help in our election.
Thank you for that clarification, GL.
All right.
Thank you, Joe.
Are there any questions? Okay, I would entertain a motion.
I will make a motion that we consider a resolution approving the city's participation in the municipal alternate voting methods pilot project for the 2021 Murray City municipal election and authorizing written notice of the city's intent to participate be provided to the Lieutenant Governor and Salt Lake County.
Rosalba, that's the wrong one. We're on the one right before that.
One.
Oh,
Number 2.
let's do that one too, right? Okay, I'll do that one as
not
well.
so long.
I'll repeat it. Don't worry, guys. Okay, so number 2, consider a resolution authorizing the execution of an interlocal cooperation agreement between Murray City and Salt Lake County for the sharing of election services for the city's 2021 municipal election. There
I'll
we go.
second.
All right. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Is there discussion on the motion? Okay, Brooke, would you take the roll?
Before we do that,
Mr. Health?
I think there's we need to approve a resolution, not consider a resolution. Is that correct, GL?
It is. I think she intended a motion to approve, but she did say consider. That's correct.
Okay, well, I entertain a motion to approve a resolution. You want me to restate the whole thing again? I don't mind. Okay.
Do we need to do that? We're okay, right? Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Is there discussion on the motion? No. Okay. So, Brooke, would you take the roll?
Yes. Mr. Hells,
Aye.
Ms. Martinez,
Aye.
Mr. Cox,
Aye.
Ms. Dominguez,
Aye.
and Ms. Turner.
Aye. Okay, the motion passes. Thank you, Council. We're on number 3 now, which is the long one, to consider a resolution approving the city's participation in the municipal alternate voting method pilot project for the 2021 Murray City municipal election and authorizing written notice of the city's intent to participate be provided to the Lieutenant Governor and the Salt Lake County Clerk. Jennifer Kennedy is presenting.
Okay, this is just a follow-up. Stan Lockhart did a presentation on ranked choice voting 2 weeks ago in the Committee of the Whole meeting. During that meeting, you guys decided you wanted to take this forward with a vote to decide if you want to do ranked choice voting or stick with traditional voting for the 2021 municipal elections. Brooke has already gone over all the fees. In addition to the fees, the city would have to do our own voter education things, which there is $200,000 allocated by the legislature. I believe that's available for that. In an email that you all received from Rebecca Chavez-Hauk, she mentioned that currently in Salt Lake County, Draper, Riverton, and Bluffdale are doing ranked choice voting. That was as of yesterday morning. I'm assuming it's still accurate. There may be more. And I know there's others still considering it.
Right.
Ranked choice voting, like I say, it only kicks in if there are more than 2 candidates, so 3 or more candidates. Other than that, it's just to pick one or the other on your ballot. That's the only difference. With Salt Lake County, we did talk to them. The one thing we did learn is their ballot can only rank to the top 10. I don't foresee that being an issue with our elections. I don't think I've ever ran one with more than 10 candidates for one seat. And that was the only limitation they had on their software. As soon as they know how many cities are going to do this, they'll start testing the software, but they need to know how many cities are going to move forward with ranked choice voting before they run those tests. And that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
So the software has not yet been tested.
No, but Sherry Swinson was fairly confident in its ability. It's with Dominion, who they've used for years. And she seemed very confident with the vendor. Dell and Brett were also there and discussed it with her as well.
Okay. Questions?
Diane?
Yes, Brett.
Thank you. Thanks, Jennifer. I had the opportunity I've done a lot of studying on this, and I don't know if it's a bad idea. But I really think I think we would save around what Brooke had said, and I talked to Jennifer and also Sherry Swinson, that it would save possibly $15,000, and that's without education. I am just really concerned to do this with only 2 cities that have done it, 2 small cities. I just really think we should wait until next year and get a feel for how this is going to be. And I'd like to hear from our citizens. I mean, we always talk about let our citizens be involved, let our citizens know more about this. But the citizens don't know a whole lot about this. This is it might not be new to other people, but new to our state. And I'm really concerned. I believe Jennifer, the legislators are not going to be on ranked choice voting. Is that correct?
That I'm not sure. I'll defer to Brooke or GL for an answer to that question.
Okay. GL? Anyway, I don't believe they are. I know that. No.
I don't think so. I think the bill that passed was to allow cities to do a pilot project.
Yeah, it's for municipal voting.
I'm just thinking right now that it would be confusing having 2 or 3 things thrown at us. I'd really love to listen to our citizens and find out what they feel and how they feel about it before we take an action on this. I just am not comfortable with the direction it's going. Doesn't mean it won't be good next year or the next year, but it does not save a whole lot of money, and I'm concerned that our citizens would be very, very concerned. I've talked to several, and they don't know anything about it, and so that's my concern.
Thank you, Brett. I concur with that. My concern is it's been so rushed. I thought we had a month, but it just seems like it's been so rushed, and I'm concerned about the unintended consequences. I would just feel better if we waited also. And I think the lack of our citizen participation is a really good point as well. So thank you. Other comments?
Yeah, if I might, I share the same questions. I think on the heels of the election we just had, the uncertainty and the whether founded or not mistrust in the election system, I don't know if this is the right time to change election systems. I think we need to get an election or two behind us before we, and have some time to educate the electorate on what this is and what the advantages of this is as well.
Okay. Other comments?
I'd like to say I have heard from some residents. I had, I think, 4 positive emails, 1 concerned phone call. They weren't fully anti, but they just had questions. I do like that if we do it with the pilot now, then we would have the momentum of other cities all doing it at the same time to educate together. I really do believe that ranked choice voting promotes majority support as far as the candidate that wins the seat. It discourages negative campaigning, which I think is a huge problem in elections, provides more choices. I think that the education piece really could be solved with that momentum of many cities all doing it at the same time. And I do have faith in that type of voting, and I think it's a really equitable way to go.
Yeah, I've gone back and forth on this. I mean, it just doesn't feel comfortable at this time. I think it's intriguing, but I don't know. I'm not ready for it. So anyway.
I have to say, I do agree with Diane. It feels very rushed. One of my biggest questions to Honorable Rebecca Chavez-Hauk was, why didn't the legislature just pass it? Why didn't they just pass it forward for all municipalities, and including themselves? And they wanted to do a pilot program outside of the 2 cities that participated last year. And I think it seems unfair that we would have to make that decision for our own municipality, and especially for I would be conflicted if I was running for office this year as well. And and how you run your campaign is totally up to the individual, but it brings a lot of, I've also participated in ranked choice voting, and it was very easy. It was nice. It was nice to use, but I think the educational piece needs to be a little bit stronger from ranked choice right now to the public, and not necessarily to the municipalities. I haven't gotten any. I've had like 2 emails, probably months back, about it. I had one yesterday from a constituent asking where we were going to vote, and I wasn't sure where we stood. So hopefully this answers her questions, but there's still a lot of like, I don't know. I don't know how this is really going to work. And I don't think it's right for us to make that decision necessarily as well. And only be 1 out of 5 cities that do it and have to pay an additional $10,000 or whatever the pot is for that $10,000. I just don't think it's fair to citizens right now.
Yeah. Thank you, Rosalba. Yeah, I haven't received any comments from constituents up to this point. So anyway, if there are no other comments or discussion, shall we, let's see, I'd take a motion.
I'll make a motion with the risk there is no second. I move we adopt a resolution approving the city's participation in the Municipal Alternate Voting Methods Pilot Project for the 2021 Murray City Municipal Election, and authorizing written notice of the city's intent to participate be provided to the Lieutenant Governor and the Salt Lake County Clerk.
Do I have a second? A second? If I get no second, then I guess it dies. Okay. Then the motion does not pass. All right.
Diane,
Yes.
I'd just like to reiterate and I appreciate all sides on this. I just want to make sure you know that this is something I'm not against down the road, but similar to what Rosalba and you and Dale said, that it's just so new that I just want to make sure I made that point clear that down the road with more education, I may feel totally different, but I agree with what this took place. So thank you.
Okay. All right. Now we are to the mayor's report and questions. Mayor.
Thank you. Just a couple of things this evening. First of all, in case you hear anything from any of your residents, we have been experiencing a shortage in our supply of residential garbage and recycling containers. We've been able to get parts, but not new containers. But we have been able to find a different vendor, and we should be able to have new containers in the next few weeks, just in case you are asked.
Okay.
Second, UDOT has scheduled a virtual public meeting to discuss their proposal to install new traffic signals at 4500 South and Atwood. And this will be a virtual public hearing. It'll be on May 4th at 5:30 p.m. And you can find the details about how to join the meeting by visiting the Murray City Facebook page, and we'll also have that information on our city website tomorrow. And they will be taking comments during the meeting, and then after they will take, they will take email or formal written comments up until May 14th, so a 10-day period. And so this will be, again, the intersection at 4500 South and Atwood. And that's all I have this evening, unless you have questions.
Any
wait,
questions?
excuse me. I was going to mention that Brenda has the budget books ready for you, so you'll receive those here
right.
at the conclusion of this meeting.
Great. Thank you. Any questions for the mayor?
2 questions. How much has the recycling increased, like in terms of the request for the containers? I'm just curious.
How much is the recycling increase? You mean for additional containers? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head, but I can find out.
I'm just curious, just because we decreased the amount of time, and I know people are now increasing their usage. So I was just curious.
Well, I don't think it's been significant, but we can certainly check that.
Okay. And then the second question I had is May 4th is the night of our council meeting for the UDOT public meeting. Is that something you're participating in, or they're just holding it for the community?
They have set the time and date, they being UDOT, and it's from 5:30 to 6:30. So someone would be able to make comments before the council meeting, or again, there'll be a 10-day comment period.
Also, we are not having a council meeting on May 4th. That's been canceled.
Oh,
well, there you go.
Thank you, Diane.
What a problem solver.
That takes care of that. Okay. Any other questions? Rosalba, did you have another question to ask?
No, that was it. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Hearing none, we are adjourned.